What's up, everybody, to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-host, Miss Tori Rodriguez, a.k.a. T-Rod.
What's up, everyone?
How you feeling?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. How are you?
Man, I'm ready to rock and roll.
I know.
Good.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
We have Nick Lommen here with us today.
What's good, fam? What's good, fam?
I'm pretty excited. But before we hop in to talk about Nick and who he is and really talk with him, Jeremy, why don't you tell all of our listeners who we are here at Next Level Teaching Podcast?
Me, Tori, our guest today, Nick, we're here to help every teacher across America. Like, we want you to laugh, we want you to learn something new, and we want you to live your best life in and out the classroom. So we create this platform, you know what I'm saying, for us to be able to talk and dialogue and build, get to know one another, sharpen up our skills so we can serve these kids in the best way. You feel me? So what I need you all to do is to leave us a review. And Tori, we don't want just any review, do we?
No, we want that 5-star.
Come on.
See, Nick even knows who
I know,
Nick's like,
got
give it
it, 5 stars.
We need that 5.
And don't forget to leave us a review, you guys. Like, tell us what you're loving. You know, to be honest, I've gotten a few text messages from some friends, and I'm like, share those ratings in because we want the world to know.
Yeah, don't just text me personally.
Yeah.
Let me know it's real.
Yeah.
Tell Apple that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I love it.
All right, so I'm going to hop in and tell you guys just a little bit about who Nick is. So Nick Lommen has been teaching for 4 years, and I know some of you guys are like, all right, let me go ahead and tune this out because I've been teaching for like 30 years. Remember, these new teachers are the ones that are coming fresh out of school, and he's not even fresh. He's been in the classroom long enough to experience things, and I love talking to teachers that are new in their career because it gives me the opportunity to learn from that fresh, young insight. I say that like I've been teaching for like 18 years.
Right. But no, it's real because some people will feel like, what Nick gonna tell me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He has a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, you can be in the classroom for 15, 20, 25 years and you get stale with it.
Exactly.
But you get some fresh young bloods and hear some new starters that's gonna let you know like things are shifting. And he has a better pulse on the culture and the kids today that you might have lost. So yeah, tune in. It's gonna be good.
So true. So he also is a social studies teacher, just finished middle school and is now headed into high school, where he's going to be teaching world geography and AP human geography. And the best part is that he's finishing up his specialist at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. We're so glad you're here with us, Nick.
Thank you. Just to backtrack a little bit, you know, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten from any of my bosses in administration is that there's at a point, no point where a teacher knows everything. Yeah. Right? We all got something to learn. So she said, never get cocky, never feel like you know everything.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're 1 year in the game or 20 years in the game, you still got something to learn.
That's
awesome. So true.
Yeah.
Yep, I love it.
So true.
And that's one of our pillars. We want you to laugh, learn, and live your best life, right? So I believe they're gonna laugh. We're gonna laugh because we just goofy. You know what I'm saying? But we definitely gonna learn and have some good discussions and a good dialogue and kind of learn more about your journey and how you got here.
For sure.
So let's start with that. I want to hear a little bit about your story and what made you want to become an educator and when you knew that this was the profession that you wanted to hop into.
And we like to ask that question because we feel at Next Level Teaching, you don't have to just be, it's not a career or an occupation. This is like a calling. You got to be a little crazy to go into this field.
So let us know when that craziness kind of stepped into your life.
The right kind, absolutely.
So I have come from a family of educators.
Nice.
My grandpa was a teacher. My grandmother was a teacher. I got family that's teachers, aunts, uncles. So that always was an inspiration for me. But I really got into wanting to be a teacher because I was really, just gonna be honest, a bad kid.
Okay, we got a lot in common.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. It's okay.
Right.
I was good in elementary school, then the middle school hit, and it was like a switch. I was like, I'm gonna be bad, right? So I don't know what it was, but you know, I got ISS. I got in trouble all the time. I was failing classes, and I was a smart kid. And it wasn't until high school, my junior year, I had a teacher, Miss Rossner, and another teacher, Dr. Harris. And they both kind of sat me down one day separately, and they were like, who are you fooling? Like, who are you trying to fool? And I was like, what? And she was like, they're both like, no, like this is not who you are. Yeah. Like you are so much better than this. Like you can go beyond that. And that was the first time, other than my parents, that I had people tell me that. And I was like, dang. And like that really had an impact on me because I know what it's like to be that kid who's always getting in trouble, not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. And as I grew out of that phase, I was like, that person, the two people who changed me were my teachers. And I hope I can do that for somebody one day, or at least try to.
That's beautiful.
So it's like that life-changing factor.
Oh, yeah.
You saw the impact they made in you and how it made you feel, and it made you say, I want to be able to do that for others.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's, it takes us back to do unto others. You treat others how you want to be treated.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And you felt something. I'll never forget the first time I heard like motivational speakers. This guy affectionately that we call Big Shan, Silverback. I'll never forget I was in high school and he came to speak at our school and he had on like this big army fatigue and he had like the paint, like the face paint, like the black and the brown and the tan.
Right.
And he spoke, and then you got guys like Dr. Eric Thomas, all these powerful speakers. That's what compelled me to want to go into education and be a speaker as well. So it's interesting to hear how those teachers captured your heart, connected with you, and you said, you know what? I want to do that for other kids.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely.
It hasn't been easy though, has it?
No.
Right. Can you tell us about, just to let the world know, like it's real out here, can you tell us about that one kid that like drove you like crazy, that made you say, you know what, maybe I chose the wrong profession?
Definitely, with no names.
Okay, right.
This past year, I had a student who, just came in new second semester, and he just didn't listen to anybody except himself. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. He wanted all the attention on him. Right. And it started in one class, then eventually went on to happen into a bunch of classes. Yeah. And usually my class is under my control. Right. But, there are those kids who love to test, who love to try. And that was the first time I've ever had a student consistently do it and just not get the big picture. Right. So we've had parent-teacher conferences. We talked to administrators. Nothing's changing in him. Wow. So at this point, even walking into my class, I'm like, okay, it's just 1 hour. Like I'm counting down in my head like 59 minutes, 58 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But that takes a toll on you, and that's not healthy. It's not good. And I realized after about a month or so, I was like, this cannot continue for the rest of the semester.
Yeah.
Right. So I pull him aside one day in class. I'm like, man, like, I love you, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm here for you, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, do you know many other teachers who taught to you the way I taught to you? And he was like, nah. He's like, I got 1 or 2 on the team, but that's about it. I'm like, so you're choosing to spend your time with people you love, who love you, and acting like this? And he was like, he was like, he was like, come to Jesus moment. He was like, dang, like this man really does care about me. The other 2 teachers on this team really care about me. We got to get this together. And from there, it was a total game changer.
Wow.
There's still problems. There's still problems.
Yes, they're going to be.
But,
yes.
He didn't turn into an angel.
No.
But y'all had a connection. He realized, like, okay, my behavior and how I'm acting and responding. The fact that you went to him off the rip and was like, I love you, right?
Yes.
Right.
And that was my immediate reaction as well, because I feel like there's so many times, I tell my students all the time that I love them.
Right.
And my students know that, like, I don't have children, so you are my children.
Right.
I take you in as my own. Let's be honest, they're with us longer than they are sometimes with their parents, besides during this Corona time. But
Parents going crazy.
Jeremy's like, Lord, please, let us get back to school.
Something I tell my kids, to bounce off what you said about you don't have kids. I don't have kids either. So I tell my students all the time, like, y'all are my kids. Right. And trust me, I got time. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm about that life.
I will pop in on you in other classes, seeing how you acting. Like, I do that because I don't have kids yet. Right? I'm a single guy. Like, I got time to check on you.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to do it.
And I think that that's important for them to hear, though, because I feel like there are so many kids out there, so many people in general, not just kids, but people in general that don't feel seen and known and loved. And to hear that, to hear those exact words, you know that I love you, come out of your mouth. And I think even to come out of a male teacher's mouth, because let's be honest, to see male teachers in the classroom, they're few and far between, unfortunately. And I think that there's so many times where some of our young men need that strong male foundation within the classroom in their lives. And so to hear that, to hear I love you, and to hear him already know it before you even said it, you know that I love you, right? Well, yeah, like it was like a duh, a duh. And so that comes through in your actions. And I think that that's so beautiful that he already knew. He didn't have to think about it. And that to me, like I was just doing some studying, and it was talking about loyalty. And to me, that's one of those things of loyalty where you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
It is just already there.
Yeah. I told them on the first day of school, I'm like, it's August until May. You are mine, whether you like it or not.
Right.
We could either have fun or it's going to be hard. I'm going to aim for fun. It's not always going to be fun. There's going to be some challenges, but at the end of the day, I got your back. I'm here for you. I love you. And that's not going to change.
Yeah.
And
So I think when students, what I try to help them understand is because I had one kid last year, man, that's Cap, she don't love me. I'm like, you do realize she can go in any other career field and make more money. They don't get nearly get paid what they're worth. Like, trust me, they don't just want to come here for the free lunch.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm
Free
saying?
lunch? What free lunch, sir? No free lunch.
where you work,
They just like, man, like trust me, like they want to be here because they care about you, and they really do love you, but they need to hear it.
They need to hear it.
Yeah.
And so, because you got to ask yourself, okay, how many of those kids need to hear that who don't have a father saying I love you? Even if he's present or not, they just might not say I love you. So to get that from a male figure is huge. Was that kid black, white, Hispanic? Okay, yep. So see, and in today's climate, we need more of that.
Yeah.
We need more of that exchange.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I talk a lot about the importance of African American teachers, especially like black males in education.
Yeah.
But I'm also telling my white counterparts, I'm like, don't get it twisted though. You can make an impact.
Exactly.
Because when I went to 3 different schools to the 9th grade, when I was at Huntsville High, those teachers who captured my heart, they weren't black teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm also telling them, don't get so caught up on the skin tone.
Yeah.
Like it's the depth of your heart that can make an impact. So I
Exactly.
think it's beautiful that you led with, you know I love you, right? Like you wildin'. Like come on now, but y'all know I got your back. And I love it.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
I think that's beautiful.
We need more of that. So all you 25-year teachers, I know you're an OG in the game, right? But you'll be surprised how far you can get with love.
Yeah.
And I love it because you said it didn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
but there was a connection.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you had to almost remind yourself, come on, y'all. We talking about speaking life.
Right.
You had to remind yourself, I love you. So that wasn't just for him.
Oh, no, that's for me too.
Now we talking.
Well, and also the fact that you said that he came in second semester. So like you missed a whole semester of connection, right? I feel like so often as teachers, we think first semester is that time where we really get to make that connection with students. And like the first week of school is our getting to know you time, like let's sit down and fill out all of your little like about you, or, you know, like the little getting to know you little forms on the first week of school. And that's the only time I get to know you, but that's not when it happens. And so the fact that he was able to see that and you were able to make that connection in such a short amount of time really is just such a testament to where your heart lies within education.
Right. I'm trying every day.
Yeah.
That's good. And so my challenge to you, keep that zeal, keep that passion, keep that enthusiasm. I cannot tell you how many times I got off the stage of speaking in front of hundreds or thousands of teachers, and teachers come to me crying saying, you reminded me why I got into education. Because it's like after a while you forget that. And so that's the value as well that you bring to the podcast. Because first time listeners are hearing your story and they're thinking like, wow, I need to get back to that place.
Yeah.
When I not only realize I love them, but I proclaim that love. That's good. We got more questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
So I feel like, to me, that moment just captured my heart a little bit. And sometimes we've talked about how sometimes that kid that does almost bring us to our breaking point or that almost drove us crazy is the one that could also capture our heart. But do you have a particular story of a student that did just really capture your heart and like you made a connection with? And
I'm talking about that mushy, what made you feel like,
this is why I do what I do.
This is why I do what I do.
I got 3 students that I got name drop.
Right. If it's positive,
cool,
I don't think their mom's going to try to sue us if you say something positive.
The twins, Brian and Bryce Colson, and then a girl, I just had her this past year, Akira Cooper.
Okay.
They all remind me a lot of myself. A lot of fun, a lot of energy, real smart. But sometimes they just need a little more guidance. It's just someone to watch over them. Just, hey, get on it, right?
Yeah.
The twins, that's what we all call them. They were my first year. And
there's nothing like that first year bond.
Right. And one day I'm sitting there going back and forth with them, and all of a sudden they're like, you know, Mr. Lommen, you're like my best friend. And I was like, dang. Like,
Yeah.
like right in the heart.
I'm like,
I was
time
like,
out.
right.
Class is canceled.
I know, like, oh
Let me
my
get
God. Like,
emotions
that is just like that's why I got in this, right?
Yeah.
Not you a cool teacher. Let's stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not, yeah, man, you a cool teacher.
Right.
You like my best friend.
Right.
Wow.
So that was a good moment for sure. And then this past year, a student, Akira, she just always came to my room whenever she was having problems. She would always, I'll always keep it real with my kids, as real as I can be.
Yeah.
And sometimes I might go across the line when I feel like it is really necessary.
Yeah.
And we just got a close bond. She tells me about stuff that's going on at home.
Yeah.
She comes to me crying. I just love that girl. I love her to death.
And I think that there's so many teachers that will use the phrase, I can be friendly, but I'm not your best friend. And to me, that's been something that I've struggled with as a teacher, because I have.
Or I can be friendly, but I'm not your friend.
Yes.
I've heard that too.
Yes.
So not even best friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's something that I've struggled with because I had a student, not this past year, but the year before, that, this girl, my girl, I love her. And she would write me like long notes. And I was the person that she always came to as well. And when we did like educator appreciation night, even her next year when she was in 8th grade, I was the person that she chose for that. And it was just because we created this bond, this relationship, and she told me that as well. You're my best friend.
Right.
And there's so many times that I struggled with that because I've been told for so long that we have to have this boundary, this border. And I think that's so true, but at the same time, like, we want them to know that we're there for them and we're championing them. And so I think that that's where there's that like very fine line of like, do you still respect me? Do you still see my authority? Do you still know that there are things legally that I have to report? You know, when you're having some of those tough conversations, like I had to report a few things that she told me. And there was one time where she was mad for a few days and she felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And then once.
You lied on me, Mr. Lommen.
Yes.
I'm like,
yeah.
no,
I'm helping you.
I'm helping you. Right.
Like, this is the help that you need. And I know that, you know, you're still a child and you don't see it. But legally, I'm required to report these things. But also, I'm trying to get you the help that you need because I do love you. And I think that that's something that a lot of teachers struggle with is where is that line and that word best friend? Yeah. Because it did nothing but bring me joy when I heard that as well.
Right. But it's like at the same time, we have to be cautious of what we share and what we process.
Oh, definitely.
I left the school on the West Coast, and it was this young Asian American student, and she sent me this long message on Instagram and was saying how she's been suicidal and she's been depressed and she's been cutting herself and all this stuff. And I'm thinking like, I've got to tell somebody. I can't keep this to myself. And I made the mistake one time of telling a student like, well, you know, I'm going to kind of have to, I was toying with it. I'm going to have to say something. Is that okay? They were like, no, absolutely. Don't be a snitch. And I was like, I shouldn't even ask you.
Yeah. There's no, is that okay? I am legally bound to report this.
So I convinced her to talk to her mom. And man, her and her mom got back with me. And she was just like, I never knew that my mom also suffered with depression. And she also, and so now we're getting help together. Because she was like in the Asian community, we don't have these issues. So I can't go to my mom with that. But when she finally went to her mom, I was like, okay, that's sweet. But it's weird because you want to find that balance because they're quick to befriend you.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want them to open up to us.
Yes.
But it's like, okay, but when you open up, it's like, ooh, you opened all the way up. You know what I'm saying? And now I got to be willing to, because I care about you. And I want to be your friend. But if I really love you, you might be mad at me. I want you to live.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
But I think that is where we want to live with our students, or at least that's where I want to live with my students, in that area of them feeling so comfortable that they can come up to me and talk to me about anything, that I am the person that, you know, when they fill out their safety plan, that I'm the room that they want to come to because that's where they feel most comfortable. You know, that to me means that you're making an impact and based on your story, I'm going to guess that is the main reason you got into this, not to teach social studies, but to impact lives. Yeah. And that's what it sounds like you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like social studies is just a way to get in and connect with y'all.
Exactly.
But I really want to just kick it with y'all all day.
True.
And I'm going to teach you a little something.
Because if it was math, nope. Right.
Oh, hi. That's me.
Right.
That's
me. So let's do it. We have a segment called, right? Let's take a break.
Okay.
And in this segment here, we want to hear about that almost breaking point.
All right.
That made you say, and it's not always students. Sometimes it's family. Sometimes it's, another teacher or administration. But we want to see if you can share with us a moment where you almost broke and you almost said, you know what, I didn't sign up for this. You're like, but it's the almost breaking point. You got a moment like that where you can share with us where it was very challenging, but you hung in there because teachers need that encouragement.
Right. Yeah. 1 year, I was mentoring a group of kids, and the kids at the time were in 7th grade, and from my experience, that is when they start going real crazy.
That's where the change happens. That's where the change happens.
And so I'd have these kids wanting to come see me all the time to talk to me. But at first, it was okay. Then it was, okay, now only outside of instructional time. So during your planning, I'm like, okay, so I'll go during my planning. Well, when I go during my planning, the kids who I need to talk to are now in their instructional time because I'm teaching a different grade. So then it's like, oh, well, no, you can't pull them out of then. So I'm like, okay, so when can I talk to them? Because these kids are coming to me telling me that they want to talk to me, but you're not letting them come in my room. You're not letting me go see them. So it got to a point where I got a warning saying, you're doing too much.
You're doing too much.
Was basically what was said to me. And if you're going to do it, then you can only do it before or after school. I'm like, well, sometimes they don't come in so late. Right. Sometimes, I got bus duty, right? It's like, so I'm like, if I can't do this, if I can't help these kids, then, And that was really hard. I was like, am I at the right place? I'm in the right career.
Right. It's tough. And I've heard of so many of our guests in the past and in previous episodes to come. It's like they get reprimanded for going above and beyond.
Yeah.
But then it's
teach
like,
the content, get the test scores, move along.
Right. But it's some of these moments here where if you did have that time to connect with them, that's what can help bring about that impact to where behavior, test scores, would increase, but they need that connection time.
Yeah. Right. And, as I was easily get frustrated with my admin, but at the same time, like they're just doing their jobs, right? So it's like this weird balance of like, I'm just trying to help.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not doing that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's tough.
The fact that you even have that desire, because one will say, hey, I can't meet with him. Okay, cool. Right. But you're like, come on, to our listeners, I need you to feel his heart. Right. He's like, okay, it's one thing to say you can't meet with him. It's like, oh, okay. But the fact that you're burdened, like, man, I really need to meet with these kids. Like, these are my young guys, my young girls. Like, they want to connect with me. The fact that you even have that passion is refreshing.
Yeah.
Because there are some that's just like, oh, I can't meet. Okay, whatever. Or they taught up. Right. The fact that you're seeking them out, that is epic, man. Yeah. Don't lose that zeal. And there's some of you that's listening. We want you to have that same zeal, that same passion. Sometimes we can even feel like we're fighting the very systems in place. Like you should be supporting this. Yeah. And it's almost like an autoimmune disease. It's like we're fighting each other, but we a body. We should be working together. But there are things in place that's stopping me from bringing about that long-lasting impact. So it's like we got to be creative. Like meet me at lunchtime. Recess, holler at your boy.
Recess, please. Well, and just from another middle school teacher, I'm like, ain't no recess anymore. We wish. But I think from someone that has struggled with some of those times as well, where I have sent my kids off to their connections class and I'm in my planning period and they want to sit and have a conversation with me. And I've been told by administration that I'm very supported by, that, like I'm friends with essentially. And they're like, they still need to go to class.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they're not going to learn in that environment that you're sending them to because they're so upset. They're so in their emotions and in their feelings because they're kids.
Right.
I'm in my emotions and I'm an adult. Right. How do you expect them to learn in that moment? And so, they tell us as teachers, we wear so many different hats, then let me wear those hats. You want me to be a counselor at times, because let's be honest, at least where I'm at, we have like one counselor per grade level. And I know some places aren't even as blessed to have that many.
Right.
Yeah. We need more of those. And so you want me to be able to be there in that capacity. So let me do that as well. And so I think that's something that we really need to think about as a system on how do we maneuver and make that a little bit better, because we have at a lot of schools, the schools I've always worked at, we've had like an advisement time, but it's at this like whole class instruction advisement. But to me, I see it more as like an individual one-on-one time to sit down and talk with students. Like that would be the perfect time to do that. But I'm not given that opportunity.
Yeah, I am a firm believer. You put me in the White House, first thing I'm doing, I'm meeting with the educational secretary, and I'm putting a counselor or a social worker in every classroom.
Right.
I feel like it should be like a duo, like the mama and the daddy.
Right.
Yep.
You teach the lesson, and I'm going to teach the heart. You know what I'm saying? Like you teach the curriculum, I'm going to teach the brain.
Yeah.
You help them understand some things about science, math, social studies, I'm going to help them understand their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions. How do you balance all of that, what's going on? That's why my degrees were in. Right. So I've got that social work background. So that is a really deep passion of mine. I got a question for you, right? So you're leaving now elementary, and now you're about to go into middle, and now you're about to go into high school. Tell me, what was the demographic at the middle school that you left, and what were some of the challenges that you faced there?
The demographics, it was 78% Black, 10% Hispanic, Asian mix, and then like 6 or 7% white, I think.
Okay, got you.
Percentages can be a little off.
Right.
And
how was that connecting with the kids? Like any best practices, any challenges, any success stories? Like how was that? And we could probably talk 4 hours about that.
4 hours about it,
Right.
I just, from the first week, I just always say, like what I said earlier, I'm here for y'all, but also I'll be honest with you guys, and I think this is something that really, really works well with me and my connection with the kids, is that I know they're not going to be on their A game every day, and I'm not going to be on my A game every day.
Yes.
I wish I could be, but there are some days I'm going to be walking in, lessons not together. I got it. Maybe I'm just having a bad day. I mean, who knows? So I'm just real with them. I'm like, if you tell me you have a bad day, cool, and I'm going to tell you when I'm having a bad day.
Yep.
Right. And I just think communication is so big. A lot of people forget that kids are not robots, right? They can't just come in, opening, work, close, leave, repeat 7 times a day, right? There needs to be a little fun into the day, Absolutely. Maybe ask 3 students a question every period about, hey, how are you feeling, or how are you doing? How's science class? They need to see that you care outside of just what they're doing for you. Right.
How do you go about making the connection with some of those kids who might feel like you try to get close to, but they might feel like, I don't trust you. You don't come from where I come from. That was my thing. When I first went to Huntsville High, I was like, you saying you love me and you got my back, but you don't come from where I come from. Like, I don't know if you can really even understand my story. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Then I felt like someone was older or corny, and I tried to push them off. Like, have you faced students like that? I'm sure in all those years teaching there,
definitely.
So tell me how that was, and how did you go about making that connection and getting past skin tone? Because that's probably half of the questions I get teachers send me is, I'm a white teacher in an all-black school, and I'm having a hard time connecting with these kids. I cannot tell you how many have been in tears, like, I want to connect with them, but they're not feeling me.
Right. This past year, I had my first student that I just did not connect with, at all whatsoever. He came over from the west side. He came halfway through the year, and things just did not go well at first. And I asked him, I was like, what's your beef? I was like, what's going on? Why is this not working? Because I want to make it work. Right. And he's like, you just don't know me. You don't know where I come from. And I'm like, you're right. I don't know where you come from. I don't know how you came up, but I'm here to help you. And you're going to see that today, or you're going to see it 3 months from now. It's going to be too late. So, take your time. I'm not going to push anything on you because that's corny, like you said, because the kids know when people are just trying too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I was like, watch how these kids interact with me, and watch how I
That's so good.
interact with these kids. And you're going to see, I'm here for you. I'm not here for
you
anything.
You can get some of that action too if you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And only took like a week or two, and then it was like, boom.
Dang.
I like your approach. Like you said, sometimes you push too much, and that can come off as corny, like you're doing the most. But you was like, hey, look, bro, you see how they fool with me? You see how we rocking? Like, they cool, I'm cool with them. So you can get in on this energy or not. Don't let it be too late, but I'm here for you, and I ain't going nowhere.
I love that.
That's good.
Because I know that that's something that I still struggle with at times, having those kids that I do love them, and yet they
reject it.
They just push it away, and you're like, but I love you so much. Just love me. Why don't you love me?
Right.
And so I think that I love how you said that. Like, look at how my relationship is with the other kids in here. See that this is just the culture in our classroom. This is what it looks like. This is how we live in here.
Right.
And if you want to be a part of that, I'd love for you to be a part of that and just inviting them into that space because it is an invitation and it has to be genuine, like you said.
It's gotta be,
and it has to be like
they know.
comfortable. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that coming in the middle of the school year has got to be hard. I was the kind of kid that stuck around the same district my whole entire life. So I've never jumped from one school to the next. But I'm sure that's got to be hard, making new friends. And you're right. Like, we don't know what his bringing up was like. Right. And I think that for me is something that I struggle with so much is I don't know. So tell me.
But I want to know.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm not going to get there until you let that happen. Like, that's all on you.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that I always counsel teachers on is when you come across that student and then they finally open up and say, okay, this is what I'm going in. What you going to do with it now? You might not be able to say, I grew up like that. I know what you mean. Like, there's something special about owning it and acknowledging it, but then affirming them in their journey.
Yeah.
Like when a teacher can tell a kid, I don't even know how you're even still here, or I'm amazed at how strong you are, or I'm blown away at how, how you keep showing up every day. Yeah. I don't know how I would handle it if I was going through what you're going through. Like that right there can be a way where the kid might be like, whatever, but they're going to go home and think about it.
Yeah.
Like, man, that
planting
teacher
that
said
seed.
that they're amazed. Man, maybe I am stronger than I think I am.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's good. So for those of you listening, we want to make sure that, that because the majority of teachers today, are what they say Caucasian white. And so how do they connect with those kids? And I think you've given some good insight to, you ain't got to be over, but it's got to come from a genuine place.
Yeah, because a couple years ago I worked with somebody and she came up to me and she was like, how do you connect with the kids? And I was like, what? And she was like, I'm just like this old white lady. Like, how do I?
How long has she been teaching for, approximately?
She was. I'm not sure.
I mean, you said old, so
yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, well, what do you mean? She was like, I'm just some old white woman. Like, they don't listen to me. And I'm like, that's your problem. You're only equating it to being old, white, and a woman.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying to get to know the kids. You're not trying to get to know them. You're just basing it off of yourself, and that'll never work.
Never.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, getting to know who they are, what they like, getting to know their world, not forcing your world on them, but getting to know their world. And I'll say my mom's a teacher as well, and love you, Mom. She's an old white woman as well. She's not that old, but she's been in the game for a while now, and she still finds a way to connect.
Right.
She's the kind of teacher that when she taught high school, she's in middle school now, but when she taught high school, she turned on some Maxwell in class.
Calm them down, set the mood.
Yep. Right. I mean, and they loved it,
Right.
and it's finding what they love. Ask them.
Oh, yeah.
Ask them what they love. No, you can't sit here and play half the music that they listen to in the classroom, let's be honest.
Right.
Because I'm one that does like to play music in class while they're working independently. But I'll ask them. I will never forget. It was my first year teaching, and I played Frank Ocean in class. It was clean. It was, but I played Frank Ocean in class, and I had never heard the song.
Right.
I had never heard the song. And the kids, I was like, is this clean? And the boys were like, yeah. And I looked at one of the girls, I was like, is it clean?
Right, is it clean?
And they were like, yes, Miss Rod. And I was like, is the content behind it clean?
Right.
Not just the lyrics.
Context, right?
Yes, like, is what it's, and they were like, yes, it's fine. And the whole class, a bunch of boys singing at the top of their lungs, you know, that high note that he hits in that, I know, what song I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that high note that he hits in it. And it was just a bunch of boys, and they sat there and worked for me.
Straight up.
Worked.
Music does wonders in my class.
Yeah.
I'll play new stuff. Not to lie, I love Gunna, so I'll play a clean version, right?
Right.
But also, like, I'll throw it back, maybe some Aaliyah, and they're like, oh, that's my mom always listens to this. I was like, okay. And, but one song that all the kids, it doesn't matter if they're listening to NBA Youngboy, whomever, Rock With You, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
The boys always, rock with you.
Yes, I play a bunch of MJ too.
It's a classic.
Yeah. And some teachers use that as a way to loosen up. Some ways as an incentive. You know what I'm saying? But another way, we talk about connection.
Yeah.
And so, if you are that, like you said, she was that old white woman, you'd be surprised what happens when you play some music and they realize, like, okay.
You
cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're not just that authoritative figure.
Yeah.
You actually cool. And so that can go a long way.
And it can't even be those throwbacks. Like, I'm sure that there's some of our older teachers that are like, but I don't listen to, like, they're like, who'd he just mention? I don't even know. They're like, who's Frank Ocean? They're going to say those kind of things. And because I don't listen to a lot of music that a lot of my students listen to be honest. But I know that there are some throwbacks that I listen to that their parents are going to listen to and they're going to love. And so you can even make that connection.
My dad listens to this in the car, right?
Yes. And they're like, oh, I love this song. Like,
my mama said that's her jam.
Yes. When My Boo came back out as like the Running Man challenge and all the kids loved that. And I was like, y'all, this song is way older than y'all are, right? Like the song is older than me, technically. You know this, right?
Yeah. Question. If you had the power to change one thing in the educational system today, if the powers back came to beat that said, Nick, man, you're a great guy. We feel like you're the future. Like, we're going to pass whatever law, we'll put whatever system in place starting tomorrow, what would it be?
A mandate that in high school you take a yearly course on ethics, racism, and not just the study of racism, like the history of racism, racism that is present today.
Yeah.
I think there's something that's super important and it's just not talked about enough. And it's particularly from a history teacher perspective. There are glimpses, like we talk about for example, Trail of Tears, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We forcibly removed Native Americans from their lands of thousands and thousands of years so that we could take over that land. But we just talk about that for maybe 20 minutes and move on to the next thing, right? Well, what about the hundreds of years that have passed and the systemic racism that they face through laws that they can only live in certain areas, their populations are underfunded or underserved, and that's just talking about Native Americans, right? Let's move on to the racism against Black people in the history of America. There's in the educational system. I mean, it's just endless, and I have a lot of passion about that. And I wish that it could just be like a mandated class. Unfortunately, it's not. Because there's so much depth to that. There's just so much that you don't know. And there's a really great book I'm reading right now about Abolitionist Teaching by, her last name is Love. I'm blanking on her first name. But it talks about to be an abolitionist teacher, everybody should be an abolitionist teacher to fight for equality for your students. And she calls for white teachers, because we do make up the majority of the population, the teacher population, to use their whiteness and their privilege to educate all their students, whether they're white or Black or Asian or Hispanic or whomever they are, to show them where they are or how the world is working for them and against them.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's
So I know that was a lot.
No, that was great.
And I want to stay there.
Yeah.
I want to stay there for a minute. I wish we had gotten there sooner. So I'm glad we're asking these questions, because I can tell you're really passionate about that. I think that does a few things. It, for one, makes them aware. I mean, I can't tell you how many schools I've gone to, and the administration is primarily white, the students are primarily white, and they're like, we need to bring a black face in here to talk to these kids about ethics, about morals, about how to treat people, about the behavior. And then I see that 10% of the school is black, and I can almost look at these kids' faces and see the oppression on their faces. I can only imagine like what they're dealing with in the classroom. So it's refreshing that you would say, I'm not on funding, because some people say funding. Everybody's passionate about something different. Someone's like funding, and this, you're like, no, I would want to educate our kids to the real history of this country so that we can change the trajectory of our future. And I think that's special. Yeah. And I think, have you always been there? Like, was that something when you first got into teaching you were on, or was it something where when you got into the school system, you was just like, something's not right here?
Unfortunately, that wasn't something I got until grad school. I started reading up on that, learning up about it. That was a huge portion of at Georgia State University's teacher curriculum was just about what's the term? I'm blanking. Sorry.
But like the history,
just oppression is a huge portion of their training program, and how it's still prevalent. And you just read about all these things. You're like, why was I never taught this?
Yes.
Like, not even in high school, not even in college. I had to go to graduate school, like master's in education, to learn all this. And it's sad. Like, it infuriates me, but also makes me more passionate about getting that stuff into the school.
Yeah. I want to know, how do you think that has affected or is going to continue to affect, you as a teacher, as a social studies teacher, especially. Like, I'm a math teacher, so that's a struggle for me to bring some of the conversation of the systemic racism that has really been a topic of conversation in these past couple of months. It's harder for me to kind of translate that into my classroom, but I feel like as a social studies teacher, it's easy. Right. And so what does that look like for you? What do you plan on it looking like for you?
Yeah, I always teach to my kids. So I teach to how my students, who my students are, who their people are, right? And I think that's something that changes with every class, with every group of kids, every group of students that you have. So with me, I just base off of what they like, what they learn, what they love, and I just go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think if when you present it in the way, you find a way to weave it into your lesson plan, you find a way to present it to them, and then you just kind of bring a little bit more light to it. I think that's going to be refreshing, and we've got to have this conversation.
It's necessary.
I'm about to create a new program called LEAP. Right, and it's going to be something that I'll be sharing with educators to really help them be able to see the importance of us transitioning, right? And so the LEAP is like acronym. So the L is for let's listen and let's learn more about the systemic racism, the problems that's been plaguing our country, right? The E represents equity and empathy. We got to first empathize, and then we can bring about systems to build upon the equity. Right? And then we got to tweak our attitude, right, and tie in and check our attitude so that we can cross over into activism. And Tori, you and I just talked about this. The P breaks down what?
Yeah, the P is just like making it personal for yourself. So once it becomes personal in your life, then it becomes transformational. And then once it becomes transformational, then it becomes something that you can't look away from ever again. And so you continue to persevere forward into that. And I think that that's the important part, is we have to make sure we don't lose stamina within this. And it's just like a muscle that we're building, right? And so there are going to be times where, we are working that muscle, and it does become exhausting at times. But if we want to grow this muscle, and if we want to continue to get stronger with this, we have got to keep up the stamina with it, and we have to persevere through it.
Yes, that's it. And I think everything that's been happening, it's like the world slowed down because of the virus.
Yes.
And it's like the veil has been removed. And it's like now we're having the conversations so that we can really go deeper and really bring about change. Right. So, man, that's impressive. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yep. I love it.
Last question before we get to the fun stuff. What we got here?
So I want to know, where as an educator do you feel like you still continue to work? Like, what's something that you're really focusing on?
What muscle you want to build up?
Yeah.
Something I need to work on. Let's see.
Nick's like, nice.
I got it.
You know what I'm saying?
No, everybody's got something to work on. I definitely got something to work on. I'm trying to think.
We just want to throw a curveball.
Oh, yeah, that was
what
definitely
area of your
curveball.
game, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel?
I think definitely I could improve upon the challenge in my lessons. Just making it a little more challenging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I do the base and get a little deep, but not deep enough.
Yeah. So really getting rigorous.
Right.
With
Especially now that I'm going to high school, it's something that I'm going to have to do.
Absolutely.
So,
especially with that AP class. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the trenches, right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And I think that so much of learning how to dig deeper into those things comes with that, like, communication with other teachers. I know that that's something, collaboration is huge to me. And there are so many times where my particular group that I collaborated with this past year, we each kind of had our own role, and we knew, not because we were pegging ourselves into a certain role, but it was what we did best.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of our people was really great at the technology side of things. And then we had another person, she was our more seasoned teacher, and she was great at those, like, critical thinking. Okay, let's not just cover the Pythagorean theorem, but let's see, how do we go deeper into that?
How do we connect other things to this?
Yes,
Right.
and, like, really getting them to kind of discover some of these things on their own and just go further with it. And so I encourage you to find, especially as you're walking into a new school, some of those older teachers that may be better at some of that, because I think they've experienced a lot of that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for our last segment here.
Let's
Rapid
go.
fire.
Rapid fire.
Let's
So
go.
this is probably one of my favorite parts because it's just fun. It's just lighthearted, but don't get any of them wrong, by the way.
We got a button here that's going to take
Yeah.
60 seconds.
By the way, like, if you get any wrong, I'm just going to press the button and the bottom of the floor is going to fall out and you're just going to fall through. It's
deservedly so.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. All right. Ready? 60 seconds. Here we go. Favorite food?
Pizza.
Oh, okay. Favorite sports team?
San Diego Chargers.
Oh, come on. You had a moment. Wrong. One has to go. Cake or ice cream?
Ooh, cake. Chocolate ice cream all the way.
Oh, okay. One has to go. Ketchup or mayo?
Ooh, ketchup.
One has to go. Christmas or your birthday?
My birthday.
Poof, you just disappeared. You don't even exist.
One has to go. Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram.
One has to go. Apple or PC?
PC.
Ooh.
My man.
And do you have any tattoos?
No.
All right. And what's the best gift you've ever received?
A fishing rod, 11th birthday.
A fishing rod?
Yeah.
Okay. Savory or sweet?
Savory.
And
Favorite
go for it.
favorite movie?
Harry Potter's.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
My man.
I got it.
Good stuff. You got
Yeah,
it.
good stuff.
Sweet. Well, man, Nick, we appreciate your heart for kids.
Yeah.
Appreciate
We
it.
appreciate what you do every day. We thank you for answering the call to do this work.
Yeah.
We thank you for being crazy enough to jump in. And we're grateful that you're continuing to explore and have some of those hard conversations and really bring into light some of the challenges that our country has had so we can take to the next level, man.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure,
Thank you
brother.
for
Thank
having
you
me.
so
Thank you for having me.
much.
Thank you.
Loved
Those of
having
you
you
out
on.
here listening and watching, you know how you can do us a favor? Leave us a review.
Yeah.
We would appreciate a review, appreciate a comment. We will read your review. You see that fire? We want
5
those
stars.
5 stars. Let us know we're doing okay, and we'll continue to add this content to you. See you next week.
See you guys. Bye.
Peace.